In the corner.
Councilor Patterson, can you read us off?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we mute that guy?
Thank you, everybody. I will just disclose that Councilor Baumgartner is meeting us from a remote location. Councilor Baumgartner, just want to let you know that next time during the pledge, you can feel free to say it silently to yourself.
Okay,
The one thing that we learned during the pandemic is that the Pledge of Allegiance, when you're doing it remote, is just hard.
There's a delay.
So we have a couple protocols we have to go through due to the nature of our hybrid meeting today. So basically, Councilor Baumgartner is at a public facility here. It's a Yellowstone Motel, 900 Fifth Avenue in Inferior, Ipswich, South Dakota, 57451. All of our votes today will have to be done by roll call. So that's basically the process and the procedure of our hybrid meeting. We'll start the meeting off here with call to order and determination of a quorum. Councilor Baumgartner,
here,
Evers, here, Ferguson,
Here.
I'm here, Pavinus.
Here.
We do have a quorum, we'll call the meeting to order. Now's the time for the public forum, actually, so. Now's the time for the public to address council on any needs out there in the community. Speaking times will be limited to 3 minutes. If business needs to be handled afterwards, we'll definitely work with staff to facilitate that. So now's the time to address the council.
You know who I am, Todd Howard. I just want to take an opportunity to thank Landon for his service to the city as a councilman. Thank you for the opportunity to sit and talk and have some conversation to educate me a little bit into filling the shoes that you'll be vacating shortly. I think our conversations have been, for the most part, pretty productive. And I look forward to being able to tap into you in the future if I need some guidance or at least some backstory on some of the things that happened in the past. Again, I just want to thank you for your service to the city.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Anybody else from the public wish to address council at this time? Seeing none, we'll close down the public forum here and open up the regular meeting again. Moving forward, the first order of business here is to set the agenda. We've all had a chance to check the agenda over and the consent agenda. Now's the time to request anything to be pulled out of the consent agenda into discussion items. If not, I'll call for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Or I'm sorry, approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made by Ferguson, seconded by Evers to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call to approve the agenda. Councilor Baumgartner,
aye,
Evers,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Patternus,
Yes.
the agenda is set as written. We'll move on to the consent agenda approval. Consent agenda includes the regular meeting minutes of December 2, resolution 142, acknowledging the offsite gambling premises permit requested by St. Mary's Church. Resolution 143, approving insurance of issuance of general obligation bonds. Resolution 144, calling for a public hearing on conditional use permit application. Resolution 145, calling for a public hearing for the proposed ordinance amending chapter 152 of Olivia City Code. The first reading of ordinance 2025-1, amending chapter 152 of the Olivia City Code regarding the B3 Central Business District. Marcus Construction Pay Application number 2, Marcus Construction Change Order number 2, pre-construction costs and schedule, Marcus Construction Change Order number 4, Verkada equipment for City Hall, Safe Assure 2025 proposal, acts contract for cleaning services, Fire Department purchase order request from Dingus Fire, and the personnel policy update as written in the consent agenda. I'll call for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. So
Second.
motion's been made by Paternoss, seconded by Baumgartner. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go through the roll call vote here. All in favor, signal by saying aye. If you're opposed, signal by saying nay. Baumgartner,
Aye.
Evers, Ferguson,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Paternoss. Consent agenda carries unanimously. We'll move on to discussion items. Starting off with item A, the public hearing, the proposed ordinance amending the 2025 fine and fee schedule that we've been talking about here the last couple weeks. So right now, the process here is to recess the meeting. We'll be taking some reports from staff, receiving potential public comment, and closing the public hearing. So without further ado, staff, what do we have for updates?
Yeah, so we have updated the fine and fee schedule after council provided your input at the previous meeting on December 2nd. It was a good discussion, lots of good input. So those changes have been requested, which includes removing that reserve account fee for residents without those utility accounts, going back to the previous fee structure for the subdivision regulation section with a 10% increase for inflation, and adding in the language that says if the appeal is ruled in favor of that person, they don't have to pay for those costs.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I want to give a shout out to Jasmine, who's writing those minutes following that discussion. It's not easy.
Yeah,
Great job.
It was a book, I would say. It was a good discussion though. I appreciate it.
Very good discussion.
All right, anybody from the public here to comment on the revised 2025 fine and fee schedule? Not seeing any action there, so we'll close the public hearing here and open up the regular meeting. In front of us here, we have an ordinance. It's ordinance 10. That's going to be the actual approval or the actual fine and fee schedule as written. So call for a motion to approve ordinance 10, the 2025 fine and fee schedule. So
Second.
motion's been made by Evers, seconded by Ferguson to approve the fine and fee schedule for 2025. We'll vote by a roll call. If you approve, it's aye. If you disapprove, it's nay. Councilor Baumgartner.
Aye.
Evers. Aye. Ferguson.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Paternoss.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right. Very good. So we'll move down to resolution 146, authorizing title and summary publication of ordinance 10. So we need to publicize our fine and fee schedule. This is a resolution to go forward with that. I'll call for a motion to approve resolution 146.
Second.
Motion's been made by Paternoss, seconded by Ferguson to approve resolution 146. We'll do a roll call vote. Baumgartner.
Aye.
Evers. Ferguson.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Paternoss.
Aye.
Resolution 146 carries. We have resolution 147. So we've been working on the tax levy here for a number of months. Thank you very much, staff, for helping clarify all our questions and adjust based on findings and coming to a final number that's as fair and representative as possible that we could find. So that's resolution 147, the approval of the final 2025 property tax levy. Call for a motion to approve resolution 147.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Baumgartner, seconded by Evers to approve resolution 147. Roll call vote. Baumgartner.
Aye.
Evers.
Aye.
Ferguson.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Paternoss.
Aye.
All right, 147 carries. Along with 147 is the actual operating budget. That's resolution 148. Call for a motion to approve resolution 148. So
Second.
Motion's been made by Evers, seconded by Ferguson to approve resolution 148, the adoption of the 2025 annual operating budget based off of our budgeting workshops. Roll call vote, Baumgartner,
Aye.
Evers, Ferguson,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Paternoss.
Aye.
148 carries. Okay, next on the discussion items is the electric department facility, so obviously we're gonna be selling the building that houses the electric department, so we need to figure out how to rehome them. We've all kind of been in cahoots here with the planning of that, so we need to start actually moving forward on actual building plans. And been at work contacting some architects, and she's here to fill us in and give us some ideas on next steps.
Thank you. So, as you all know, as John said, we are currently in discussions with the Chrysler Center, working out a purchase agreement. Pam has taken the reins on that. That purchase agreement will include a leasebacks option to the city for 12 months while we figure out a new location for our electric department. We're looking at building another facility next to the other sheds just south of the Chrysler Center property. And so the reason we need to do this is a couple of reasons. Electrical equipment theft is on the rise throughout the country. Metro areas are plagued with people breaking into streetlights to steal copper from wire. We don't want the expensive equipment that we have invested in as part of us being self-insured to sit outside in the elements. Especially not in the event of inclement weather. The last thing we want would be somebody's transformer to go out in a snowstorm, and now our electric department has to dig through 2 feet of snow to find the equipment they need. So we can't store the equipment outside. We are looking at equipping this department with a small office as well as a small bathroom to house our 3-person team electrical department. The architecture firms that I have reached out to have been on the advice of our building officials, so Darren Haslett. I reached out to Haugen Architecture and Outsource Architecture, and then Troy, our electric superintendent, also recommended I reach out to Engen Associates. So as you are probably aware, Engen Associates has already worked on this project quite extensively. And so I reached out to them to see what it would cost for them to finish up the plans to move forward with the work. So the 3 quotes that you have are in front of you for the architectural work. Engen Associates is $11,100. Again, it's the lowest because the city has already put funds towards this project using that firm. We also have Haugen Architecture at $26,000. Their quote does not include soils investigation, site survey, or civil engineering, so those would be additional costs. Some of those things like the site survey, we could certainly work with our city engineer, SEH for, to see if that can be included in our general services contract with them. Outsource architecture is the other quote, and that came in at $34,365. We are looking for a motion from council to pick which group you'd like us to work forward to develop plans. Our ideal situation would be that we receive plans and we can go out for public bid in February. Again, we need to have them out of that space in 12 months. So we want to get this on people's calendars and books for the plan, as early in the process as possible, to build this. Questions, comments, concerns?
Have you looked at the plans that Engen drew up previously?
So I have, and I've expressed to them what changes need to be made to those plans. So this would include, we're not rubber stamping the plans we submitted to the city. They know that there are alterations for the electric department from their previous plans, and that's included in their quote.
Okay, because if I remember right, their plans were an ungodly amount of expensive last time we looked at it. Like $1.something million.
Yeah,
So-
that's what we're still at.
So current estimates from a number of places is between $860,000 to $960,000. We would be using the proceeds from the sale of Chrysler to pay for this project as well as some of the electrical fund reserves, so we wouldn't have to bond for the project.
Well, right, but is their current plan actually one that we plan on going forward? I guess is my
But they're
question.
changing the current plan.
Well, and then I would like to just remind the council that we're spending over 3.5 million on the city hall rebuild right now. We just spent 9 million on the road. We just spent 790,000 on the pool. All of that is, gonna come on the tax rolls, but really hasn't yet. And on top of that, I know it's not our tax, but the school, we're building a new school. The people are going to get hit very, very hard with additional taxes coming up here shortly. And I don't know why we knee jerk into building a new building when I haven't heard any discussion about, can we rent something in town? Because there's empty buildings in town. I don't know why the city needs to own another building.
So many of the buildings in town, there's height requirements for all the different garage doors for the electrical department equipment. So the electrical department equipment is quite tall and they require much taller garage doors than is currently available in the rental market. So that is
Well,
why we're
there's
looking at
been-
that investment.
Yeah, I've seen zero come across my desk in regards to that. I'm just taking your word for it. I don't think that anyone has looked. That's what my opinion is. And I have a very low appetite to take on another $1 million in projects for the city when I don't feel like there's been even close to the amount of effort that should be taken to see if there's an alternative. Because just this whole idea that we have to build new gnaws at me. And it'd be one thing if we didn't have all these other projects going and we didn't have all these other taxes coming already. I think we have tapped too hard onto new funding. I am really hoping that I could persuade 2 other members on the council to at least say, whoa, buddy, let's pull the reins back here. Let's take a really good look at what our options are, because all I'm seeing is that you want us to spend $1 million on a new building, and I haven't had any other options put in front of me. And I don't think that's fair to the citizens of Olivia to do that.
I can understand that. I have explored other options. So another option that I've explored is the armory. Both the building, again, that's not city owned, that's state owned. We don't know how much longer the state is gonna be the owner of that building. I've explored not only the armory building, but the armory cold storage, which is just just west of Dollar General. Both of those don't have the height requirements on any of the doors that's needed for electrical department equipment. The same thing with the county public works building. I understand that Renville County is in the process of potentially building a new public works facility. They have their public works building, right on Highway 212 now. I've asked the question, what's gonna happen to that building once you all move out? I've talked to our electric department, again, they have a door height issue for those items as well. So I have been looking at alternate space in the city and they haven't proved sufficient for the needs of the department.
Well, sure, but door height, I mean, I think for the amount of money that you're talking about, you want to build this new building, we could invest some into making a structure work and continue to rent it. I really don't like the idea of another public building. I just don't think we need it. We have it seems like that should be our last option, not our first.
So you would rather us rent a building instead of investing in something that we would then own?
I don't think it's an investment. I think it's a liability, because then you have to maintain the building, you have to maintain all of the stuff. That's all the city's responsibility. Renting is much more economical. And, not to mention we're talking about spending $1 million. I don't think it's worth it, guys. I really don't.
I'm not gonna go as far as Matt and saying that everyone has the worst option in the world. But I do question our need to go with an architected building or whatever, like.
I have had discussions with Darren Haslip. He has said that we should go with an architecture building for code review and lots of other building plan things. So I've asked the question to say, do we need to get an architect involved in this building? Our building inspector has recommended that yes, we do get an architecture firm involved in this building to design it for a multitude of reasons.
You got no opinion from anybody
Well-
that Darren Hessler.
He's the building inspector. We
Right,
have to
you
work with
can't
the
get past
city.
Darren Haslip, and that's who's gonna say.
Yeah, we don't gotta
you
take
use
his
it.
advice on this stuff, he isn't a builder.
But if he is the city contracted expert on these things, why would I not use somebody who the city has directed us to work with?
Because lots.
Already, what I think we're learning is that if we're gonna build a building, there's just all these incredible rules we have to follow as a government entity, and it drives the costs up like crazy. And I've witnessed it with the city hall project, and we were supposed to be at more like 2.5 million. We're at over 3.5 million. Like, I don't understand why you think it's okay to just keep spending money we don't have. It is
Yeah,
not
but the
okay.
increase of
We do
the,
not have this money. We don't.
the
have it.
increase of the cost of that building did happen because there was delays. That's not good enough. Do this, do that, do that. We lost the
That's
great
exactly
interest
why I
that we
don't-
had.
I-
We're paying
no,
pretty
we
much what
didn't.
we paid
No, we
before.
didn't.
Let's
Okay,
not,
we don't
we've
need to-
known
One at a
about
time,
this.
guys. We gotta
We've
do-
known about this for a while, and we could have discussed the rental options 2 years ago. We don't have the, let's not. Let's not do that now, when we could have done that so long ago, and obviously Elizabeth has looked. And I mean, for one, I would like to go forward with deciding something over here tonight, not start over. Personally, that's just me.
I don't know how you can think that when you haven't even, we haven't had any serious look at what our alternatives are. And
Well, I don't know why you can bring that up now instead of 2 years ago.
well, I did talk with Troy about it, and I was already not wanting to go this far then. And he was saying we probably don't have to. And all of a sudden it turned back into having to do this thing. And we were talking about, well, if we do something, it can't be $1 million building. And now it's $1 million building again. And it's a gall darn shed, a glorified shed for $1 million that the city is going to own. And I just don't understand why. I don't understand why the city would want to own something that they have to maintain. We already have problems maintaining the roof of the library. We already have buildings that are not maintained well enough. Why are we picking up another liability? It is not an investment. It is a liability in my view.
So our electric department is currently our most profitable enterprise fund. It is, it contributes the most. My concern is if we keep trying to look for options, we are going to get to July with no consensus on how to move forward. And then we have an even shorter timeline on what to do with the electric department team.
And so instead you're saying, but let's just spend $1 million and solve the problem. But I think that's the worst possible outcome.
Okay,
That's
I
been the
understand that
outcome.
that's your phrasing of the problem, my direction, yes, after looking at the various rental options that were on the table in the city of Olivia. That we're looking at what the department needs, that we're looking at all of the different factors on safety, on theft in the area, was a new shed option. The costs of materials, the cost of labor, the project costs are unfortunately things that I don't have control over. That is the market. It is more expensive to build now than it was 5 years ago. If there is
Which is why we should
another-
rent. We should rent something.
But I don't know if the rental property is gonna show up on the market. I don't know what there is to rent in the city of Olivia right now that would fit the departmental needs.
There you're making some sense. You don't know, right? Have you looked? Have we
Because
really
I've
explored
looked and I
this?
haven't seen it.
You can't predict the future, what buildings are going to come up, that's crazy, man, you know better than that. That being, and even when you say building now would create a liability in the future. You could look at our city hall and say the same thing, and everyone was on board with that, including yourself. And not only that, everyone knows rent goes up every year, whereas mortgage payments do not. So this will cash flow itself better than renting will in the very near future, and not only that. It's a little bit facetious to talk about levy supported buildings compared to this building, which will be supported by rates, and we've already talked about it. We're selling the current home of the electrical building. That being said, I think what we're going with here is overkill. We talked about it a long time ago, or I'm not gonna say 2 years ago, cause we finally entered into an agreement to sell the Chrysler building this summer. We haven't even entered into the agreement, I don't think officially.
We've been working on the purchase agreement, we hope to have it for the next council meeting.
We had been working on it
Right.
for 4 years now.
That's fair.
So I'm not gonna say that we should have looked into renting or whatever in the past 4 years, that's. Not reasonable, since we didn't even have a good plan selling the building until 6 months ago.
I think September.
Well, and if you look at the building that we're currently using, the section of the Chrysler building where the electrical department is, that's a fairly small garage. And I know that there's a deficiency with not having a bathroom there. But you just cannot sell me on this idea that we need $1 million shed to replace what is really a 1 bay long garage that they're using now.
So we can design something smaller. We can, like, this is, right now, these are architecture costs. We can design something smaller. It doesn't have to get up
Can we
to that
find
level
something?
that Engen put, this is the cost to alter those plans. If you would like to wipe the slate clean and start from the ground up with a different architecture firm to design something smaller, we can certainly go that direction. The reason I reached out to continue developing the previous plans is the city has already sunk money into those plans. So I was trying to recoup that.
Okay, second question, I guess, or to back up with that. So you can know how extensively we plan on altering the plans.
I mentioned that we would like to, move where the office and bathroom was. I mean, I haven't mentioned making it smaller. We can certainly though make it smaller if that's the desire of this council.
Well, again, from what I remember, the plans that were presented to us in their draft state were. Expensive in 2022 dollars,
Okay.
like. And now we're talking $2024, which I have to imagine is 15 to 20%.
According to the proposal, the original was $875,000. Estimated updated cost for 2025 would be $930,000.
And that's for adjusting for inflation. That isn't with actually getting any of the bids in. But yes,
Plus or minus 20%.
yeah, these are all guesses depending upon bid. But again, if you would like to wipe the slate clean and start all over and see something smaller and everything like that. We could certainly work with that, to see what that smaller building, smaller price tag.
Is it gonna house everything that the electrical department needs?
The
Like,
electric,
are the size that they went with, that they decided with, I thought Engen had talked to Troy and
They
said, what
had.
do you need? I
that
thought
was their
that's what he
previous
needed.
discussion, yes. So I have not sat down with an architecture firm to discuss, like, I have the rough size of the building. That the electric department has asked for and the bay requirements and things like that. So I've given all of these architecture firms an outline of what we're looking for. If that, of course, needs to be altered in some regards, when we do a plan review with council, we can look at doing that.
So you're gonna make it smaller because they don't need the space or just to cut costs?
They're asking for
understand.
4,800 square feet. If that is decided that that is too much for this project to handle here. We can go back to the drawing board, I can talk to Troy, but that is what the electric department has identified as their need for a new space.
Is that what the previous plans were?
I think they were around that size.
Something that drives up the cost was there was fully insulated steel building, steel frame. I don't know why we can't go with post frame building. Only insulate the office, you're gonna cut your cost by
Because they need a,
25%.
the heat,
We need
whatever
some
it is that
heated
they're putting
garage
in there, they
space
need it
to
heated.
work on the trucks and things like that, so that the trucks aren't full of ice or snow. Right now, their other shed in the back is cold storage. So they do want some heated garage space like they have now, to keep their trucks all.
So the front quarter of the building insulate, the rest cold storage.
That would be an added wall in the middle of the shed as well, but that's something that we could discuss.
What would you think about having Troy come to the next council meeting and probably giving a rundown of their current facilities, what they have and what they're
We would
looking
need
at
to
in the
wait
future?
until. Probably the second meeting in January. So yeah,
Sucks.
we could do that.
I think that would be doing a better service to the residents of the city is to more fully flesh out this plan a little bit and our need,
We
more
can do
fully
that.
flesh out our needs.
Okay, we can do that. We're then probably bidding the project in April or May.
Okay.
So I do think that's a timeline, cutting it close, but if we can agree to act fast, we can certainly do so.
And I'd like to make a point to say, every time that we delay these things, we end up paying more in the end.
No, we saved a lot of money in City Hall. Because we delayed it for 3 years
All right.
because it was a bad plan.
We got,
So,
good, and
We-
that'll help the councilman
Yeah.
Baumgartner satisfy his search for
I-
rental property.
I wanna understand exactly what I'm being asked. Because, so I'm
honest-
being asked to scope out rental properties more so than what I have already done. So more than the Armory, the Public Works building for the county, which I know the county has even recommended against. I am looking for an overview from the electric department of outlining their facility needs. Is that what you were recommending?
Yes.
I would are we asking me to go?
Well, you're the one who recommended.
Yeah, it would be nice to have Troy
So-
Okay.
express that.
If it were me and
Yes,
I was sitting on the council, I would recommend maybe documenting your search for lease or rental properties.
Okay.
Cause you know, documentation, accountants.
Mhm.
Are fun like
And if I
that.
can add to that, like just if a door isn't tall enough, that doesn't necessarily rule it out if the door can be made taller. We can make some small investments in a rental property to make it work for our needs if the overall cost is much, much less than even a $500,000 building, which is still more than I'd want to spend. I mean, I'm thinking about rent, you're talking about $2,000 a month, right? Something like that.
Oh, no, that's
good.
that's unfortunately what the city is renting properties for, which we're trying to adjust, when those terms come up. I don't think we can rent any building that big for $2,000 a month. I think you're
Okay.
probably looking at closer to $4,000+ a month.
Yeah, CCT building, that rent's gonna go up to like 4,200.
Yeah, CCT is renting their small shed, $4,200 a month.
I think that's what it's moving to.
Small shed.
Well, okay,
It's a
small
pristine
compared to the
building.
electric department needs.
No. So I would recommend kind of documenting your leasing project, having Troy come in. And give a rundown of the current facilities they have. We know what we'll be selling, and then what needs he'll have in the future. I think that would serve you very well.
And if it's an option, like George said, to do the cold storage and put a wall in between. If that would be doable, cause isn't Public Works like, doesn't
So,
Public Works have
Public
a wall too?
Public Works does have a wall, those would be questions that we would then ask the architecture firm in developing those plans.
That's after we.
So that's after we figure
No,
out
I
which
mean,
direction
like
we're
if
going.
there's, cause I know he said there's some things that he needs. Not, I don't think it was the trucks, I think it was something that he needed when they work on it, it can't be cold.
So that's again with like the facility needs.
Yeah,
Like how
like
heated
he
versus
actually
low
really
heated.
needs that stuff over. That is gonna be in the cold storage, if it can be cold or if it needs to be heated.
Fine.
Mr.
Any
Mayor,
other, oh, sorry, Pam,
Mr. Mayor, Council. We could also, as we're working through this, negotiate or attempt to negotiate a longer lease back time. I did just this evening, about 10 minutes ago, ironically, during this conversation, got the final red line from Chrysler's attorney for the proposed purchase agreement. So the changes are minor. There's vacation of a road that we need to talk about as a council probably at the next meeting, but with respect to the lease back, we could work on that time frame to help with your decision
Wanna
making.
vacate that road?
There, that was the only substantive change in the lease or in the purchase agreement. Is the road that gives access to a current shed.
I was gonna say, doesn't that road give access to where we're looking at building the stop at?
Yes.
And
that's
so
basically a
there's
problem.
there's a proposal that we need to talk about as a council because only council can vacate and we can't agree to do that in an agreement. We can agree to do that contingent on council's approval of a vacation process. So I'll have to talk to their attorneys about that, but with the proposal that there would be an access easement
Just for the city.
for the city. So that's something that obviously is not for tonight. I just got this agreement. I was just pulling it up, but relevant to your conversation, there's a separate lease for that lease back that's being prepared by their council, so we could attempt to negotiate a different time frame if that will be useful for council.
Surely could be.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
Yep.
Any other information you'd like me to bring to the January?
Let your road get plowed.
The January meeting.
No, that's
That's good?
that's good.
Alright, great.
No actions, well, other than asking the staff to provide a little more decision-making material. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, move down to discussion item G. It's an ordinance amending the city code pertaining to permitted amusements to address the temporary cannabis events. So Pam is starting with a bit of a draft here.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, just what you all want to talk about. You love cannabis, me talking about cannabis so much, I know. The item in the packet tonight is strictly for discussion, based on direction you provide this evening. If this is something you're interested in moving forward with and with the clarifications and cleanup that you give direction on, you would see this at your next meeting. This is not an ordinance that would need a public hearing. So what is allowed under the statute is a cannabis event. It's not something that the city could even, not that you would want to, but could prohibit. It's a licensed event from the Office of Cannabis Management. It can be up to 4 days. And people don't know what these are going to look like, whether it's a farmer's market or whether it's Woodstock. Nobody knows. And I know that the council has been a hands-off approach with respect to cannabis businesses, and we've delegated the registration of retail to the county. What this does is it allows a permit. It allows the city to permit, and what that enables the city to do is to know when these events are happening and to be able to provide any special services if necessary. Street closures, extra security, if support from our police, if necessary. And then if that's the case, then it sets up a system that there can be approvals with a deposit down for helping cover the cost of any special services that need to be provided. So that's what this permit structure is in front of you. It sets up, it has a few definitions. It sets up the ability to permit so that the city knows about it 30 days in advance. It's an administrative process if there's no application, if there's no special services that are being requested. So if no streets need to be closed, there isn't additional security that needs to happen, any of that, then the city administrator administratively can approve these as it's written. If special services are needed, then that's when it would actually come to council. It lays out specific reasons for denial. If there's another event happening, let's say that they wanted it at the same time you have your parade and you just don't have the capabilities to have this type of event and the parade at the same time with street closures, you can deny the permit, those types of things. If there's some health, welfare, safety concerns, but it gives some clarity around it. Again, like I mentioned, it allows us to have a deposit if there's going to be special services requested, and then a truing up at the end of the event with receipts to make sure that we can recover any balance of cost to the city to help with these events. It allows for us to require some indemnification and insurance. So if there is any issues, that the city wouldn't be responsible for anything that happened at these events. And then it sets out a lot of different criteria for these events that are set forth in statute. It just kind of reiterates those. What the council tonight I would be interested in is the questions are, do you want to allow these events to be able to happen on city-owned property? So in parks, if they are held outdoors, whether it's city-owned property or private property, do you want to put any kind of restrictions of these events from distance from school, park features where there's youth, anything like that? What are the hours that you want to put on, if any at all? And whether you want consumption to be able to happen at these events, because the state law allows for consumption if the local jurisdiction allows for the consumption at these events.
So you can have a weed event without consuming weed?
Right, why would you have the event?
So it would be like a farmer's market, just
Oh,
going and buying your product. You
Oh,
could
you
have
get-
samples.
Oh, I get it. Oh, you're only buying, not smoking.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, yeah. So, it's,
Doesn't our ordinance already restrict smoking in any of the public places?
yes. So, but there's other ways to consume
Sure.
cannabis. So on-site consumption could maybe be a little area where you have your tables and your gummies. I don't know.
Yeah,
So.
Right.
You'll notice in the provisions, I have included no smoking, I believe, under the on-site. On-site consumption, I included that in there, assuming that you probably would, just based on how you've been approaching cannabis before. We can certainly take this section 6 of, I believe it's J, right? 6 out, but the last provision D is no smoking, to align with what we had said already with respect to smoking. So right now
Not in the
that's,
parks, how's that sound?
Sounds fair enough. I mean, same thing as with everything else, right?
Right.
You could do it in the big parking lot there, maybe?
Use Rainbow Park.
No, not.
Not the parking lot.
I mean, are we against the smoking? For
In
events?
parks?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in part, no, but I'm talking about just in events, like if somebody rents or gets
The fish
that
concert
parking
comes
lot.
to
And
downtown.
then they want to do that, are we fully against them smoking?
I think we are on city property, and we don't allow tobacco on city property, why would we allow other type of smoking on city property?
So does that
Do we allow
include
tobacco
vape?
at the softball fields? I don't know.
Vaping?
Sure, there's
Plenty to that,
That's part of the ordinance. Drinking there.
They're smoking at the street dance.
Is there a penalty for smoking on city property that anyone's aware of?
Yeah, they're smoking at the street dance.
Don't you enforce the code?
What's the penalty?
Hey, Chief Crumhour, could you tell us what the penalty is?
Like one of those codes with like penalty, yeah. Interesting.
So, yeah. 500 feet from any school,
Yeah.
no
I
city
think so.
parks.
And keep it consistent with what we do with everything else.
Yeah.
I think if alcohol is allowed. To say, go with the same,
Yeah, same way,
Yeah.
same thing with the alcohols, the way I've always thought.
so I don't believe that there's a distance restriction for alcohol, right?
From school? I hope it's not gonna break that on the fairway at number 3 all the time.
I don't believe so. Our golf course is right across from our school, so I'm assuming no, Pam.
Yeah. So if you want to keep things consistent, then you don't have any desire to have a distance restriction from these events?
I mean, this is a good question, would a cannabis event happen at the golf course?
I mean, it could.
right, and then
Wouldn't be
it's not like, it's not gonna happen on the school property.
Yeah, but at the clubhouse.
They hand out a gummy per hole, you don't know.
I guess if they're drinking on the golf course, then. I mean, they're already smoking on the golf course, nobody gets skunk there on every Tuesday anyway.
Yeah, you can always go back and change it later, if it becomes a problem.
Okay, so no distance restriction generally, what I'm hearing, direction from the council?
Yeah, let's not put it into code that there's no distance restriction from a school, obviously. Remove any reference
Just
to a
leave it
school,
out.
I think it'd be great.
So no distance restriction from anything, correct?
No.
No,
Correct.
Okay, and then, not in city, these events are not in city parks, but anywhere else? Public
Yeah, I mean,
property,
city-
other
city-
public property except for city park, right?
Yeah, I can see that
Parking lot.
parking lot, that's where we have our beer gardens. So,
I mean, and the liquor store city property, what if she doesn't,
yeah,
Yeah, she could have it in her parking lot.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, so just not parks.
I'm cool with that.
Okay, and then hours, do you want to put hours restrictions on there?
Yeah,
Do you
those normal curfew hours. Or, is it curfew? Nuisance
Some
hours.
restrictions, nuisance law, whatever.
Only here in Marina,
What's that?
only here in Marina, there's curfew laws.
Well, what time the bar has to
Noise
close
ordinance,
down, the same, whatever it is for the bars, right?
That sounds good.
Okay, so, you want it to potentially be in a parking lot until 1 or 2 in the morning?
Street dances,
goes to
yeah.
midnight.
Midnight, yeah.
Why is it-
Yeah, if it's a public event, maybe we do midnight, huh?
Sure.
And how early do you want them to start?
Do we have anything for the street dance? Can they start at a certain,
No, they just start at like 5:30.
8:30? No sooner than 8:30, are you?
Again, this
So if
could
it's a
also be
farmer's
like
market,
a farmer's market
You're
type
probably
of
gonna
thing.
wanna be able to be in the morning.
After sunrise, you know, an hour after
Yeah,
sunrise.
after sunrise, yeah.
Here go hunting rules, let's go.
Oh, yeah, there you go. You can't see the end of your.
Or like, I don't know, seven to midnight?
To a 4-day event licensed
8
by
to
the
midnight.
office.
Start at 8, take a nap. They continue on to midnight. I don't know. What are they doing? Well, I don't know.
It's good to have rules on the books, I guess.
Thank you for this, Pam, by the way,
You're
even though we're
welcome.
all being giggling teenagers over here.
So did I hear 8 AM?
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Okay, 8 AM to midnight. No restrictions from any school or park or anything allowed on public property other than city parks. No smoking pursuant to what's not allowed under the Clean Air Act, but otherwise okay, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, I think that was all of my questions. So on-site, yes, is allowed.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that was all my questions. So you'll probably notice in this ordinance, there's a couple numbering things that I need to fix and some missing punctuation here and there. So we'll get that cleaned up and then I'll fill in this missing information. And we'll get it back in front of you at the next council meeting. There's not really any hurry. The Office of Cannabis Management isn't even licensing right now. They gotta fight, they gotta defend the lawsuit they've currently been sued about.
They got a problem.
Keep kicking it back down the curve,
Yeah.
until we get it by 2030.
Yeah.
But it's good to be prepared, so thank you, Pam.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we'll get this codified and then we'll hand it out to the tourism committee to start. Finding some.
Already trying to get us some cannabis events, let's go.
Why not?
Start scheduling.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm glad Mr. Howard's here. We're next talking point is 2025 appointments for committees. So I'll just kind of mention some committee needs that we have here. The Airport Board of Appeals, we need a representative there. The Airport Zoning Board, we need a representative there. Main Street Board need a representative. And Pool Board, we need a representative. So there's a few like primary representative opportunities there. There's also gonna be some slots for alternates. Councilman Patterness was the king of the alternate position. The Convention and Tourism Bureau, he's leaving his post as alternate there. The EDA, the Personnel Committee, the Tech Committee, and the Zoning Board.
You were capable of this.
Do what I do.
I'll be an alternate for Matt on the tech committee.
I'd like to be the representative of Main Street Board.
Okay. Mr. Howard?
Todd, yeah.
What time of day do these meetings?
It's a good call. So Airport Board of Appeals is like an as-needed basis, maybe once a year.
I've never been to a meeting.
Zoning Board is the
They've
same.
never held one,
So
so
that means nothing.
I've never held one.
Change next year, it'll be 4 at noon, not a Tuesday.
What do we
If
putting
they
in there?
don't have set meeting times, typically what happens is we poll the group to see what works best.
Okay.
Sigel also golfs, you'll be fine.
We'll be putting in that that second runway going north-south.
Any day now, any day now.
212 or.
Good chicken.
Anyway. So, yeah, those are, well, you know, if timing is tough, those are a couple really good opportunities there. Main Street Board, they haven't decided on the timing on that one yet, it sounds like Evers is gonna jump on that anyway. And I'd be willing to swap out, you know, I'm on the Airport Advisory Board, I don't think I've met with that for a time. All these other ones are kind of mandatory appointments for me, so.
Yeah, I'm willing to slide in the 3 different airport ones and wherever else needed.
Okay,
How do you feel about the pool?
I don't have enough information on the pool to make an educated decision about
Pool,
that, so
the
I
pool
will-
meets quarterly.
Okay,
Typically they meet after 4:30, 5 o'clock. The pool board is with 2 members of council, 2 members of school board and staff. So that's what it is, they supervise kind of all the various discussions about the pool. They've been working on trying to drum up attendance at the pool, obviously, we're tackling a pool project right now. Councilman Patterness was the chairman of the pool board, not saying you need to necessarily go all the way there, but there is an empty space on the pool.
so you love that one, I mean, with purpose.
Trying to fill some vacancies,
If need be, yeah, I can go there.
feeling okay, okay. I don't know if anybody else would like to swap, if everybody else is happy with where they're at, we do need some more alternates in some places.
I'm fine being an EDA alternate as well.
I could do the personnel alternate and convention tourism alternate.
I'll be a Main Street alternate.
And then. Howie, do you wanna be a zoning board of appeals alternate? Or is that, sorry guys, I don't know all the history here, sorry.
Oh my god,
Is that bad?
awesome.
I just got that, I was.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Twice, I think.
What thing?
And most of them for variances, so.
Did you present to the board, is that why everyone's laughing?
I'm laughing because he was laughing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
There's history.
that's where I'm more planning.
I think it's good to serve somebody who's been, yes.
Through the process.
Yeah, you know that. I do.
And the law.
I think I've only had to go, I think we've only had 2 meetings, so it's like maybe a lot. It's usually at night.
Very good, that was very,
Thanks, everybody.
okay, moving down to committee and staff reports, any report from staff? Jasmine?
Nothing from me.
Chief? No. Elizabeth?
It's City Hall, Public Safety Building project, you'll see that there is framing that is going up for the 2 additions. Painting has commenced on the interior of the building, they are also installing the grid for the ceiling in the interior portion to hopefully install the ceiling. We're working to get the garage cleared out so the fire trucks can move back to their garage space during this process and. We are still collecting applications for our public works worker position. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Tracy, any, oh,
How many applications, Jasmine?
12 so far.
12 so far.
dang, good numbers. I thought it was a tough one to fill, actually.
So maybe this is a good time.
Shouldn't say that. All right. Tracy?
Well, I gave you a report.
It was included in the packet.
Yep. And we have since started draining the pool as of this morning. We finished a training this weekend in 72-degree water.
It was chilly.
She was 3 shades of blue, pink and purple by the time she was done, but we finished.
Good.
Um,
for the pool.
Right.
well, and the 5th and 6th graders were in the cooler water as well. And we will be seeing construction now on the inside probably tomorrow or Wednesday. It'll take us about 2 days, maybe 3, to drain it down. He's letting it run all night, so I know how far it was before I came to this meeting and I'll check it on my way home, so. I think we just signed the contract, construction company signed the contract for the new tarps. So new tarps will go in March, kind of after the construction. The bulk of the construction is done. And it'll take us several weeks, of course, to fill and balance after the construction. So I did not post a date for reopening just because I need the project to move forward before I can put a date out there. Any questions for me?
Thank you, Tracy.
We will have a meeting in January, likely in March and April as well.
I have Sundance in January. So just remember that, 2 weeks, I'll be gone.
Okay,
Jansen, so.
I don't know when that is, but I mean, I know when January is, but yeah.
The last 2 weeks.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
Any reports from the council?
What? Are we on number 7 yet?
We are on reports of council.
Okay. No
Anything
reports
from the-
for me.
Anything from the, no, okay, so we had a planning and zoning meeting on December 12th. We talked about the conditional use permit that we approved here today to have a car dealership, we're going to the car dealerships in. Evidently, until today, that was not a appropriate use for that land, but now it is. Thank you.
It needs to be a permitted use. Yes, they need a permit for that and we're working on passing the permit.
We talked about the business 3 permitted uses, which is the permitted uses that we have in place for downtown Olivia here. And we talked about accessory dwelling units, continue to refine the code, and hopefully sometime soon we'll have something for the council to consider. Had an EDA meeting on December 11th where we discussed a property rehab plan that hopefully we'll be launching soon, a new business grant program. And then holiday happenings happened in between our last meeting and here. Just want to thank the city staff and also the community for their support. The city staff was definitely very visible during that event. There were 20 units in the float in the parade, and it was just despite the really cold temperatures, everybody really came out and participated at a high level. So just want to really thank the city staff for not sitting at home and staying warm that day. Also have a bit of a, is this a report? Sure. Got a little bit of a speech. Because we're replacing one of our councilmen with another councilman. So, but I just wanna read a little something. On behalf of the Olivia community, I wanna recognize and thank Councilman Landon Patternes for his service and leadership over the past 4 years. Landon's focus on clarity, transparency, and financial responsibility has changed the business of the decision-making board for the better. Thank you for your time, effort, and persistence. And we look forward to your continued service on either the planning and zoning board, the PUC, the Main Street Board, or probably, most probably the Friends of the Library Board. But really, seriously, thank you, Councilman Patterness, for your service.
Thank you.
Thanks, Landon. Good luck, Landon.
Okay, now we're on notices and communications. December 24th, City Hall is gonna be closed at noon. It sounds like the staff is all
We'll then take PTO for the second half of the
that
day.
days, so. It'll be, that's the case there. And then, everybody on January 6th needs to dress really nice, because we're taking pictures at 5 p.m.
Yes, here at the library. Yes, Matt, sorry.
That's what I wanted to mention. I may be out of town on January 6th.
Why do you always miss photos?
I know. So I don't know. It's up in the air at the moment, but just
Okay.
want to put that out there.
Alright, this will be a very painless process. We do have a new website. We do update it with photos. So would really encourage you all to be there at 5. For this very painless photo opportunity.
Can I
would
come in
also like
earlier?
to, if Matt is there, I'd like to get a group photo, but if you're not there, we'll figure out
We
another
can
time
do
to
a
get
group
it.
photo, no, man, it's okay.
Just super
Matt on the
cool,
screen.
but He's too tall, isn't he?
We can just like etch him in.
All right,
We'll figure it out, but right now, city council pictures at 5 o'clock, January 6th.
thank you. No further business to call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Yes, Landon seconded it, no, I wanted.
Motion's been made by Ever, seconded by Patterson to adjourn. I've got a roll call to this. Councilor Baumgartner,
Aye.
Evers,
Aye.
Ferguson,
Aye.
I'm an aye. Patterson,
Aye.
we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Before the Vikings game.
The last,
No, I should have
well,
made
I
this
mean,
no cover.
I think it's still Councilman